Progressive overload and deload, what are they? How do you do them? And what's the point of having them within your training program?
Okay. So progressive overload is essentially trying to push put your body into a certain stimulation so that it pretty much grows. So when you put it under a certain amount of pressure, then it's going to have a choice. The body doesn't know what an arm curl is. It doesn't know what a squat is. It doesn't know what a deadlift is. The only reason why it knows what they're called is because as humans, we've come up with these weird and wonderful movements that are like, yeah, let's do an arm curl, let's do a bench press.
Yeah.
So if you kept doing the same exercise, so just say it was a 60 kilo squat and you did 10 reps for 3 sets and you did that for a whole year, then what would happen is that you end up reaching a plateau where it doesn't really go any further. You don't get stronger. You get fit. You don't probably gain any more lean muscle from that. It pretty much tops out.
Yeah.
So the idea of progressive overload is to, as time progresses, is to overload the body so that we hopefully get some of the gains that come from, or the adaptations, I should say, for when we're actually doing exercise, because we're putting the body under stress. So for argument's sake, if we want to bring your back up and we want to make your back look bigger, well, then we might put a few, rather than doing, I don't know, 10 working sets of exercises, which might be 2 lots of 5 of 2 different exercises. It might be three exercises. You do 4 sets on one, you do 3 sets on the other two. But whatever it is, we're applying a certain amount of stimulation. So the adaptation, the body's, you're saying to the body, you're tricking the body when you're doing progressive overload. You know that the weight's coming. Your body doesn't know what's coming. In your head, you have this goal. You're like, I want to be bigger. I want to be fitter. I want to be stronger, and that sort of stuff. You're like, right now, if I'm gonna really train hard, my body's not going to have a choice. So you literally, when you do progressive overload, you put yourself in a controlled version of just really, really hurting yourself in a good way.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and then the effect of it is that it ends up having to grow.
Adapt and over.
Yeah. And then so that the only way, because it's like hitting it with a hammer. You just keep hitting this nail on the head, and eventually after a while it folds over. Your body's the same way. Your back, it doesn't have a choice. Your lats you're doing that much lat work that you're growing out with that it has to grow. So it's the same as if we stuck, a barbell on your back to squat 60 kilos, then 62 kilos, and 64 kilos. Eventually, after a while, there will become a breaking point. But before we hit that breaking point, and whilst the form is maintained, then we work for that adaptation. Hopefully the muscle size increases. We get fitter and stronger and all that sort of stuff. What that looks like is that can be a couple of different ways. So progressive overload, you could do, so you pick your rep range target, and so just say it's 10 reps. Then you pick a weight that you can do 10 reps, and you pick how many sets you do. So it's 3. So if you got your rep target, you hit 10 reps and you get 3 sets of 10. Sweet. I've just done 3 sets of 10 on bench press, 60 kilos. And then you're like, well, what do I do now? Okay, well, go and chuck the next increment of weight. So we work in biscuit size weights. So all those small ones you see on the top of my gym, they're either 1.25 or they're 2.5. I've got 0.5. I've got micro plates as well. But so if you go 1.25 aside, which is a 2.5 kilo increase, and generally with top half exercises, that's usually the increase when you get to your strength plateau until you want to bump it up any more. Can't just one day wake up, oh, I'm just going to chuck a 20 on. I'm going to chuck another 20 on.
Yeah.
Well, then that's not the highest that it possibly goes. So if you add the 1.25 on, and just say you only get, maybe you might get a set of 10 for the first one, a set of 9, a set of 8. Well, then you're like, okay, well, so I haven't got my 10. So you haven't graduated the 62.5 club of bench press.
Yeah.
You need to go back to the club, to the gym, do the first set of 10, get the second set. Now the second session, you might get 62.5 for 10 reps for 2 sets. But then on the third set, you might only get it for 1 set for 9. Well, I guess you haven't graduated that one. Go back again till you get it.
Yeah.
That process might take you 3 weeks, might take you 4 weeks, it might take you 7 weeks. When some people are pushing deadlifts in excess of 200 kilos, generally they don't move up. Like they might move two kilos in a whole training block, let alone 6 months, particularly at the top, their top strength levels. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is rep targets. So you could have a rep target. So 8 to 10 reps could be your rep target, 12 to 13, or sorry, 12 to 15 or 15 to 20. So just say it's 8 to 10. So if you got an 8 to 10 rep target, then you do a 60 kilo bench press, you do 8 reps, 3 sets, you do that, you come back, try again. Next time you're in, you do 9s. Okay, you do 3 sets of 9, get that. Same concept when you graduate from one rep target and you move up to the next. And then once you got that, you got 10s. Okay, so you graduate the 10s. Once you get the 10s, you increase it by that 2.5 kilos again, but then you go back down to the 8s. So in theory, with a rep target of 8 to 10s, if you do 62.5 at 10s, you should be able to do 65 kilos for 8 reps for 3 sets. In theory. So that's how that target works, because it's put in place kind of to give you the way that it's enough time for muscles to grow or the adaptation to happen. And the rep ranges are close enough so that you can actually push the body hard enough so that you do it. At the lower end, you might do a 3 to 5, do 5 to 7. Most people usually do, if they're looking for strength, they usually do 3 to 5. Hypertrophy usually anywhere between 8 to 12. Sorry, 8 to 10, or maybe 10 to 15 or 10 to 12, depending on what sort of day that they're having. And then you've got another one, because there's a lot of different ways you can progress. You could do double set progression. So like if we did 3 sets, then your progression happens when you get 2 of the sets at the rep target. So if your rep target's 8 to 10 reps, then the double progression would be you get that weight twice, and on the third, you have to increase it.
Okay.
So if I do a 60 kilo bench press and I get it at the top end rep target, so it's 10 reps, 60 kilos for 10 reps twice, then on my third set, then that third set will be 62.5. But it will probably be at maybe 8 reps if that's the lower end. Then when I go back the next time, I'm probably going to be doing 3 sets of 8 at 62.5. And I keep building that rep progression up until I get 2 full sets to the highest rep target of whatever that is.
Yep. Okay.
That's how that works. So the progressive overload is put in place to allow adaptation to occur, to reduce the amount of injury that we have, but also so that we've got some sort of a structure that we can follow, that we can look at to going, oh, well, I want to lift this much. In theory, if I did it on maths, and I progress this fast, how quickly could I expect to be able to do this? The only downside with doing that on paper, so if you look at it, if you said, okay, well, every session I come in, I'm going to put on an extra 2.5 kilos.
Yeah.
10 weeks, it's going to be 12.5 kilos heavier. Just say that's a bench press. That's a pretty heavy bench press, particularly when you're at the top end of it. Probably a little bit unrealistic, but you could try. You might only do half of it because it just gets too heavy. The good way to look at progressive overload is changing gears when you're going up a hill. You know those BMXs that people ride at the skate park?
Yeah.
They only got 1-speed bicycles. They don't have So it'd be like having progressive overload is like the guy that's got the 21 speed mountain bike that's going up a hill versus the person that's got 1 speed. Like you just got so many different gears. You're like, yeah, I'm just cruising along. Oh, it's okay. I'm getting there a little bit. I'm getting there a little bit each time, and eventually you get there. It's just, it'll take. So like this training block I'm on at the moment, because I've had so many things going on. There's quite a few instances where I got to get my RDL back up to, what is it, like 130? But that I might take 2 7-week blocks, 3 7-week blocks to even get there. I may not even get there. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that really letting the weight come to you is less ego and more kind of logic and brains, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
When we're stuck on a weight to lift, you're like, yeah, I need to lift 200 or I need to lift 100. That's the ego telling you that you need to do that. Or I need to do 2 plates aside because it looks nice. They do look nice when 2 plates aside. It looks even nicer when there's 3. It looks even better when it's 4. Yeah, we can get stuck in these mindsets of what the bar looks like, or maybe what we watch on YouTube or
Social media.
Yeah, I watched this pretty funny one. This guy's name is, I think his name's Anatoly. I think he might be from the United States of Emirates or Dubai.
Yeah.
He's a cleaner and he goes around. He dresses in overalls and these big, massive dudes in Gold's Gym or something like that. And he comes along with a mop, starts mopping around it. And then he doesn't look like he even lifts with his overalls on, but he comes.
Yeah.
He's a power lifter, I think, and he just ends up repping whatever they're doing. It's quite funny actually. But
It is funny. Yeah.
so that's progressive overload.